So what I'm doing is I am cooking something out of one of my ebooks that I have printed out. I know it's an ebook, but I do print things out. It's called 50 Recipes in 50 Days. Let's see. Audio is okay. Okay, good. Is it just okay or is it good? All right. In 2020, I went live 50 days in a row, and sounds sound is good. Okay, good. Thank you. So I went live 50 days in a row during COVID when everybody was stuck at home. And so I put all the recipes together in a collection and I sell it as an ebook called 50 Recipes in 50 Days of Facebook Live videos. That was back when I was doing live videos on Facebook. And a lot of people watched because everybody was bored. But one of the things I made on day 13 was Thai red curry with vegetables and tofu. And it was very popular, and I make it now and then. And I was having a craving for some red curry. And, nowadays when you go to the store or go to the restaurant to get takeout food, it's a lot more expensive than it used to be. Hi, Judy. Hi, so John, Diane. So, like a restaurant meal, a lot of times now is $25. And so think about it. If you were trying to serve 4 people Thai red curry and you ordered it from a restaurant, by the time you paid the fees for having it delivered, if you do it with DoorDash, or if you went there and got a bunch of takeout stuff, you probably spend a lot of money to get this order of curry. So why not just learn to make it yourself and make it often enough so that it's not a big deal when you make it? Hi, Tish, sorry, Lorraine. So I'm going to just make it, and I'm going to talk to you while I'm making it. I also have some brown rice to serve it with and tofu. I made a pan of sesame ginger tofu. It's over here. You can see it on my table over here. And the sesame ginger tofu goes well with most Asian dishes, and so I made some to go with this. You don't have to use tofu. Like, I also have edamame, and edamame is fine too. It has the protein of same thing. It's the tofu's made of soybeans, so it's just like having tofu kind of. But I have both of them because sometimes I like to use both because I have kind of a stockpile of edamame in my freezer, and I'm trying to use it. So let's see, we have trying to see how many people are on. 16 people. All right, that's great. I'm going to go over here to this burner because it's a more powerful burner. I have a 12-inch skillet. And as most of you know, plant-based, no oil cooking, we don't put anything in the pan. We just let it get hot. And once it gets kind of hot, then I can add whatever it is I'm cooking, and it will brown without any oil. In fact, it tastes better to me because it doesn't have any oil clinging to the surface, which to me takes away from the flavor of the food. And you'd be surprised if you stop using oil in your cooking. In the beginning, you may think, oh, it's really missing something. It's missing the oil. But after a while, it's kind of like it tastes better and you start enjoying the flavor of the food more. And then when you go somewhere and you eat something that's very heavy on the oil, it's not that pleasant. It's kind of like it coats. We'll put in the onions. You hear how it sizzled? It's almost like those onions or the oil coats your tongue and you can't really enjoy the flavor of the food. If anyone's had that experience, say something in the comments so that I know that I'm not the only one who feels that way. I had heard that in the past. You know how you hear things like people say, oh yeah, you get used to eating, this tasteless, terrible food, and then you never do. It never tastes good to you. Like people would tell me, you get used to eating salad with just plain vinegar on it. Well, I never liked salad with vinegar on it. I don't care how many times I've eaten it, how many times I've followed the plant-based, no oil diet. I cannot stand vinegar on stuff, but that's just me. I like to mix my salad dressings in vinegar with a little tahini because I just don't like the taste of plain vinegar. So it depends on you. Okay, I have the equivalent of about 3 garlic cloves. I'm going to throw those in. They're just chopped up kind of finely. And I have about a tablespoon of grated ginger. I just took some fresh ginger and grated it on a microplane grater. And I'm just going to move this around, and pretty quickly I'm going to add some vegetable broth and cover it so it'll cook, and then I can show you what else goes in this recipe. Oh, it smells really good, that garlic and ginger in there. So if your pan starts feeling like everything's getting a little dark, don't be afraid to add. This is like 1/4 of a cup of stock, vegetable stock, and then I'm going to cover it. And what that will do is that will just help this cook down without making a lot of noise. And it works fine. Hi, Tracy. Also see Karen is on here. So let's talk about some of the other things that are going to go in this red curry. And this is actually a pretty simple recipe, but it does take some time because you have to cut things up. So I have about a half of a red bell pepper cut into strips. They're probably 2 inches. They're supposed to be an 1/8 inch, but they're a little on the thick side, not perfect. And then some carrots. This is like 2 medium-sized carrots cut into matchstick strips. They're like 2 inches long, 1/4 of an inch wide. So, they don't have to be perfect. You're cooking a dish for yourself, so nobody's grading you like in culinary school. And then I have mushrooms. I think I have 4 cremini mushrooms that I sliced up kind of on the thin side. Cremini mushrooms are baby portobello mushrooms. Just cut the little end of the stem off and then slice them up. Another component of this dish is broccoli. So I have some broccoli florets, organic. Everything I have here is organic. So I have organic broccoli florets. And then I have some jalapenos. And this is 1 jalapeno pepper. And the jalapeno peppers are so big here that, that makes way too many. I'm not going to use all of them. Then I have some greens. So I'm going to add these at the end. And it's a mixture of different super greens. You can also just use kale or spinach or any kind of greens, but these are the greens I use for my daily greens. So has anyone seen my daily greens recipes on YouTube? I know some of you make them. Let's see how the onions are doing. Some of you make them all the time, so you know what I'm talking about. But I'm well known for making greens on a regular basis. Oh, this really smells good. Now you can see how the onion has cooked down because I put the lid on and a little broth, and that's a good way to cook it. So remember, start out letting it get a little brown, like lightly brown. Then add a little bit of vegetable stock, a couple tablespoons, 1/4 of a cup, not too much, and then cover it with the lid. And then very quickly, your onions will soften. One of the biggest mistakes that people make with no oil cooking is they don't cook their onions all the way through. Let's see. Diane says, is anyone having issues with Julia's video? What kind of troubles are you having, Diane? Let me know. I've asked people and they said that they could hear fine. The audio was good. So let me know what troubles you're having. So now I'm going to start adding some of the other vegetables. Yeah, so if you're having trouble, let me know what it is so I could correct it, or at least know what it is. So I've got the garlic, ginger, onions, and I'm going to add all the other vegetables except for the greens. Okay, so I'm going to add the bell peppers. And this was, like I said, 1/2 of a bell pepper. I'm going to add the carrots. Kind of spread them around. The broccoli. Not going to add all this broccoli, but probably that much. I'll save this and I can steam it. Okay, I haven't seen any other comments about the video, so let me know about the live stream. No problem with video here. Okay, so if you're having problems and nobody else is, it may be your equipment. So I'm glad it's not with everybody because I've had some issues lately that have really got me. I'm going to put all the mushrooms in here. And I'm not going to put the edamame in until a little bit later because it's already cooked. And what I do with, here, let me get this going and then I'll tell you how I use edamame. So you see now I've got all the beautiful vegetables in my pan. And starting with the onions, the ginger, and the garlic. And all I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to let it cook for a few minutes. I'm going to add some more veggie broth and I'm going to cover it because that's the quickest way I can get this all cooked. Because we're going to be adding a sauce pretty soon. So right now I'm adding about 1/4 of a cup of the vegetable stock. And I'm going to let it cook with the cover on. Separate that mushroom for like 5 minutes. And then I'll tell you about some of these other things. Okay. So the edamame, when you get frozen edamame like this, it comes in a bag, get the organic one. And then what I do is if I'm going to use some, I put it in a bowl, a bigger bowl than this, and I add hot boiling water to it and let it sit for 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, the edamame, it reheats it, it makes it just perfect. And then you drain it in a colander. Because if you try to cook it, it tends to get kind of separated and weird, and it almost overcooks it. So you don't have to really cook it, just put boiling water over it. I learned that from a friend of mine, Mrs. Plant in Texas. She has her own website and everything, and she told me that, and I thought, well, that's a really good tip. I never would have thought of that. So it worked really well. So I've got everything in the pan, and in my instructions it says, add the stock, cover the pan, and cook for 3 minutes. And then we're going to add all the sauce ingredients. So if you're interested in getting this 50 recipe book, you can go on my website, and there's a section on my website. It's called Shop, and it has a list of, I think I have 11 ebooks on there, and you can get any of the ebooks I've done. I've done 21-day challenge, cookies, Japanese, different ones. So you can go on there and look. And my website is chef-julia.com. And when I post this video later, what I'll do is I'll put the recipe and I'll put it in PDF form. I've been doing that lately because people requested that. I'll put it in PDF form so you can easily download it. Although I think I've been told that you can do that anyway if you open it up in Google Chrome. But since people don't know that, I'm going to make it more obvious by attaching an actual PDF form. And I'll also put the link to the book if you wanted to get the 50 recipes book. So let's see how things are doing. See, in a short period of time, and that's why getting it on pretty good heat, covering it up, you get things cooked. They're not sitting in a low skillet without any heat. And I see that happening with people. They cook their things on too low of a heat, and it doesn't ever really cook. So they're eating kind of partially raw food that doesn't taste good. And so they're thinking, who wants to eat this plant-based diet? The vegetables are partially raw. They're not cooked right. They don't have any flavor. There's no more oil, and so sometimes people get upset about that. But I know there's a way you can do it, and it tastes good. And this is the way to do it, is make sure you're cooking it properly. I'm going to turn this heat down a little bit. Okay, so now I've got my plant milk, and I've got cashew milk. And I'll talk about the plant milk in a minute. I'm going to pour in, it's 14 ounces. It's like if you were to use a can of coconut milk, but it's cashew milk. And then I'm going to add my red curry paste. And the kind I'm using is from a company called Mekhala, Mekhala, and it's organic. It does not have oil in it, which is important because if you're following the plant-based, no oil lifestyle, then you have to watch it, because a lot of these curry powders do have added, or curry pastes have oil in them. And, read the label, because, some of them have some real strange ingredients. So I made sure when I found this that I took note of it, because they have a bunch of different kinds. I'm just trying to break up that red curry paste. And this one has a really good flavor, very intense, very good depth of flavor. I have a tablespoon of low sodium soy sauce, or you could use low sodium tamari. And be sure, if you see any little areas of undissolved curry, break it up, because you don't want to bite into an undissolved chunk of curry in your red curry when you eat it. I'm turning the heat up a little to get it bubbling. And I also have my, I put the peppers in, the broccoli. Okay, the last ingredients I have to put in are the edamame and the greens, and I'll put those in when everything is cooked. So my instructions say at this point to add all the ingredients for the sauce, stir together, simmer for 5 more minutes. We're going to simmer it uncovered so that it'll thicken a little bit. It's not going to thicken a lot with cashew milk, but that's okay, because traditionally when you get Thai curries, they're not super thick. They're kind of thin on the watery side, which I always wondered about when I first started eating them. And then I kind of got used to them, and I kind of like them that way. And I'm kind of curious about this. I'm going to squeeze some lemon in, and then I'm going to taste it. My recipe calls for lime juice. It calls for, can't remember how much. Let's see, 1 tablespoon, so about half of a fresh lime. But I'm using lemon because I don't have lime. I forgot to get it. And it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. And I'm going to get a spoon. Let me get a tasting spoon. So everybody okay with the sound? Erlene Costello, I see you. Erlene requested that I do some videos on making Asian soups. So what do you all think of that? And I started making she gave me a list of soups that she would like to see made, like hot and sour soup and vegetable soup, and I can't remember all the different soups that she listed. I thought I'd make a ramen soup. So does anyone else have an interest in making some Asian soups? You'd like to see me do that? Let me know in the comments. Okay, I'm gonna taste the sauce. It's really good. Oh, it's spicy. Man, I put a lot of jalapeno peppers in there, and it's really spicy, but spicy in a good way. So, what I was gonna tell you is why did I use cashew milk? Because coconut milk and I looked at all kinds. In fact, I even ordered coconut milk powder, thinking maybe I found a solution to coconut milk being so high in saturated fat. Well, the coconut milk powder, uh, is that curry paste spicy? Yes, the curry paste is spicy too. So the curry paste, and then remember I used a ton of jalapeno peppers. So between the two things, yes, very spicy. But there's even the powdered coconut mixture had 3.5 grams of saturated fat for just 1 tablespoon. And they told you to put 1 tablespoon in 8 ounces of water. So I thought, well, heck, by the time I made 14 ounces of coconut milk, I would have 7 grams of saturated fat in my dish. Well, I don't want to use saturated fat. It's just, the heart healthy doctors and the people that I follow, we don't use coconut milk or coconut cream. So I just don't use it anymore. I used to use it and I don't anymore. So if you get my 50 recipes ebook, it will say use coconut cream, light coconut cream in the can, but I don't use that. I use cashew cream. And I just make my own. I take cashews, I soak them for an hour or two in hot water, like boiling hot water. And then I add them to my little beast blender with about a half a cup of water to a cup of cashews, and it makes a real thick cream. And then I take maybe 3 tablespoons. For this recipe, I took about 3 or 4 tablespoons of cashew cream, and then I added it to water and made my cashew milk. Does it taste the same as what you're used to with the coconut in your curry? No, it doesn't taste the same. It's not going to taste the same because it's not the same thing. Say, I added the edamame. I added it at the last minute because the edamame was already cooked, and we don't want to overcook it because when you overcook edamame, it gets gray. And then I added about 2 cups of my super greens. So that we put that in at the very end because they will cook very fast, and we just want to wilt them. We don't want to have, a bunch of dark green super greens because they're not very appetizing when they get that dark. So I've been on camera for 18 minutes, and we have this fully prepared Thai red curry, a giant skillet of it. So how much do you think it would cost if you got, and this is enough for maybe 4 good-sized servings, if you were to order Thai red curry from the restaurant and either pick it up or bring it home? How much do you think that would cost in your area? I'm just kind of curious. So how are we going to serve this? Well, like I said, I have 2 things I'm going to add. I have brown rice, and I keep brown rice in my freezer all the time so I can make it quickly, or you can make your own. You could have a pot of rice ready to go, but I just had that brown rice in my freezer, so I'm using that. Yeah, has anyone guessed? I don't see any guesses. I would think that, by the time you've got all the things that go with your curry, you could easily spend $70 to get a few servings of curry. But then if you go to the grocery store and buy a few simple things like, a couple of carrots and a box of mushrooms, a bell pepper, the curry paste, you could probably spend less than $20, and you have the curry paste for another time. So it's not like you would never have it again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some rice on my plate. And I'm going to put it on the side, but we can let it all kind of blend together if we want to. And then I'm going to take this spoon. I'm going to spoon some of this, and you can see that the greens have wilted really nicely. And they're still nice and bright green, but they're wilted. The edamame is still bright green. And there's plenty of sauce, which I like the fact that there's plenty of sauce. We don't have to skimp on the sauce. The broccoli is not overcooked, which is one of my pet peeves. I'm getting a paper towel. I hate it when the broccoli is overcooked and it gets soggy and gray, and it will. Just cleaning my plate so it looks nice. And then I can put on some of my tofu. Remember I said I made some tofu, and I like to put it on the top because then it won't get soggy. What I learned is if you mix the tofu in with all the other ingredients, the tofu gets soggy. And this tofu I just made, it's all crispy sesame ginger tofu, and I'll give you that recipe too. So, this way the tofu is on top, and if you want to warm the tofu up, you can put it back in your air fryer or oven briefly, but I don't really warm it up because it's almost like a crouton. I have some cilantro leaves I've already washed and had ready over here. We can add a couple of pieces of jalapeno pepper just for looks. And then also, if you like sriracha, I have the sriracha that I can sprinkle on the top, but it's really spicy, so I'm not going to. And this sriracha is called Fix, and it's organic, and it's really good. It's non-GMO. It has no weird ingredients in it, and it's got a really good taste. I just get it at the local grocery store. So let's do a taste test on this. This is our Thai red curry, brown rice, all the good vegetables. I don't want to take too big of a bite because then it's hard to recover from that. Wow. Trying to find a place for my fork. The vegetables are crispy tender, and that's what you want. You don't want the vegetables to be cooked to death where they're all soft. You want them to still have a little bit of crisp to them. So, if you make it that way and you have the nice chewy, crispy tofu, brown rice, a lot of sauce, it's spicy. I forgot to add a little sweetness. Normally I would have added like a teaspoon of date syrup and made it have just a tiny bit of sweetness, but I forgot to add that. But it is in the recipe, so I'll be sure and put it in your recipe. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Can you see yourself eating this and enjoying it? There's so much sauce in the pan that we can, if you like it really saucy, you could, add more sauce, and it's thickened up kind of nicely. So it's a nice consistency of the sauce, and all we did was let it reduce a little bit uncovered. I'm not seeing any comments anymore, so let's see. Susan Jones, Nene. So anybody have any questions or comments about the Thai red curry? Is this something? Does coconut extract add fat? Okay. Coconut extract probably doesn't add any fat. It will add the flavor of coconut. The only problem with it is sometimes extracts are very, very strong tasting, and they're not a good taste. They're kind of an overpowering artificial taste. So I would say if you don't like the artificial flavor of things like almond extract, to me is very artificial. I hate to use it pretty much in anything. I never use almond extract. If I did, it would be like a drop. So I'm afraid that coconut extract would make it taste artificial. So, the cashew milk, or I would use cashew cream instead of almond or soy, because I find that almond and soy milk sometimes have a little bit of a flavor that you detect, where cashew milk tends to be a lot more neutral. But that's just my preference. You could use any plant milk, probably oat milk, anything you want. You will not get the same rich coconut flavor you get at the Thai restaurant, but you also don't get all the saturated fat. And the red curry paste makes up for a lot of that because it has so much good flavor. So I urge you to make this, the Thai red curry, with all the fresh vegetables. They're just so good for you, and you'll just feel good eating this dish. And it's very filling and it's very flavorful. So I can't think of any negatives of it other than maybe you'll want to eat too much. But look at all the leftovers. I have enough. I really do have enough to give at least 2 more people, even 3 if they don't have big appetites. Let's see, Nene says, looks yummy. I don't like overcooked broccoli either. Good, yeah. That's the thing. People sometimes take stir-fried things or things like this and cook it too long, and then everything is kind of too soft. So you saw that The cooking times for everything were like 3 minutes here and 5 minutes there. It wasn't a long cooking dish. So, the longest part about this dish is cutting up all the vegetables and having everything ready to go. It didn't take me super long, but I always have these kind of vegetables around my house, so I just, got out things I use all the time. Could you use pre-chopped vegetables that you get at the grocery store? Yeah, sure. My gourmet grocery store has a whole section of already diced or julienne strip peppers and onions and carrots, and you could just go buy it already cut up at the grocery store and then come home out on a busy day, grab your curry spice, make your cashew milk. How I make cashew milk in a pinch is I keep little frozen cubes of cashew cream that I make in the freezer at all times, and I take 1 cube and mix it with hot water, and then I have cashew milk because I use it for different things. And so, whenever you make cashew cream, freeze it in like 2 tablespoon portions in like an ice cube tray, and then you'll always have it. So let's see, we had about 27 people. So I hope you all make the Thai red curry, and I will post the recipe today along with this video. So you'll have it in PDF form. And I'll be back on Wednesday. Not sure what I'm going to cook, but I will be back either doing a recorded video or a live video. Sometimes I have to do a recorded video if there's a long baking time or something. So if I have to put something in the oven and bake it, or there's a long period between cooking beans or something, I'll just have to record it. But otherwise, if it's something quick like this, I can do it live because it took less than 30 minutes. So unless anyone has any questions, I will sign off. Last minute, anyone have questions about anything, about the 21-day challenge, about the curry, about any request for anything you'd like to see me make live, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off. Okay, thank you, Nene. I see the hearts. Okay, thanks for following me here on Substack. I really appreciate it, and I will be back soon. Bye, everybody.